avail ourselves of continue to go on. I think it's important to listen to the entire community, to listen to not only those who are actively involved, but to those, the silent majority. And I will listen very actively to everyone. I also have a website, www.murphyselectmen.com. I would encourage you to go there. You can also email me from the website, or you can email me direct, murphyselectmen@mail.com. I'd be happy to hear from you and hear what your issues and concerns are, and I will respond within 24 hours. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you very much, Mr. Whitman. All right, well, we'll go ahead and start the questions, and hopefully the answers. You hit my first question, which I'm asking all of the Board of Selectmen candidates. An issue for any elected representative, president down to selectmen, is the balance of the will of the people versus the good of the people. If elected, how will you balance what the voters want versus what may be the best for the town in the long term?
I think balancing the will of the people with the good of the people is predicated on the people understanding what the issue is, what the solution is, and what the impact is. So my response would be that A, I would listen openly to everyone. B, I would ensure that the will of the people was met, so that if you're listening to a particular group of people and they are espousing one philosophy, you need to go out and seek the opinion of others. You need to go out and try to solicit opinion from that silent majority so that you can address everyone's concerns. In the end, it's the will of the people that will prevail. But I think if you establish a higher level of communication, and I believe that if you establish trust with the people, then they will be better informed, and they will be more willing to listen and more open to listen, so that you can move forward. And one would hope that what's for the good of the people is the will of the people.
Okay, you mentioned a silent majority, and you said you would solicit what their opinion is. How exactly that they're a silent majority? So how are you going to listen or hear from them?
I think there's two ways to establish communication. One is the communication that comes to you, and the other is the communication that you go and solicit. So I would go out and solicit opinion from those in the community. Some individuals have a natural distrust of government, or they believe that their voice cannot be heard or does not count. I think it's important to go out and solicit from individuals. So as you're about the community at various activities and programs, etc., that you get the opinion from the people that you associate with, whether it's in your neighborhood, whether it's Little League, youth soccer, or any other function or event that you attend throughout the community. So it's not just about waiting for them to come to you, it's about going to them and hearing what they have to say.
Thank you. As a candidate for selectman, as you stated, you have a past government experience, both in Stoneham and here. I have a couple of questions on that. I guess the first question would be specific to North Reading. You were on the school building committee, and could you give details? Did you step down, and if you did, why?
I joined the school building committee shortly after moving to North Reading. My wife and I moved here in September of '95. I had stepped down, obviously, as chairman of the finance committee in Stoneham. 2 months later, I was appointed to the school building committee. I assumed the role of vice chair. We worked through Trish Colella was the chairman at the time. We worked through the feasibility study. We presented to town meeting the plan, which incorporated Swan Pond additions and renovations to the Little and the Hood. And I served on the committee through the Little School project. At the time, that the little school project was nearing completion and the hood school project was just beginning. I also made a decision to seek a seat on the Board of Selectmen, and that was 1999. So at that time, I felt it appropriate so that I could devote my time to campaigning, and so that the hood school would not have a transition in the middle. I felt it appropriate to step down from the school building committee. It was a perfect time to transition the committee as, again, the little school project was nearing completion. The hood school project had just received approval at town meeting and in an override, so it was an appropriate time to step aside.
Thank you. Somewhat of a follow-up to that, but a question about, in Stoneham, you spent 9 years on FinCom. Correct. That's what you said.
Not 9.
Not 9.
Did I say? I don't think I said.
Okay, sorry. Didn't take notes on that. You spent many years on FinCom in Stoneham, but you never ran for a Board of Selectmen seat there. And
I think that's why my wife had me moved.
I'm wondering why you come to North Reading and you feel that it's a position you want to run for.
During my time in Stoneham, I did consider running for the Board of Selectmen in Stoneham. Our children were at an age, and my wife and I made that sort of life decision where we had purchased our home, and like most young couples, we had purchased our home, never intending it to be our home forever. It was our start. I became very actively involved in the community, but we, for a whole host of reasons, chose to move here to North Reading for the quality of life, the setting of the community, and so at the time I was in Stoneham, it wasn't, it just wasn't in the cards for me to run. Had I stayed, I probably would have, but I chose to come here, and again, I became very actively involved very early here in North Reading, and I think North Reading is a great community.
Okay, well, as a follow-on to that, selectmen are dedicated volunteers who work a second job for free in North Reading. How are you planning to balance the needs of a family life with the needs of town life?
I've always been actively involved in local government, both in Stoneham and here in North Reading. So I've always had to delicately balance my home life and my career in my service to my community. I believe I can continue to do that on the select board. I also, when I was in graduate school, I went to graduate school, my daughter was 2. I was in an 18-month fast-paced graduate program for my MBA, and I learned to balance both school, my career at work, because I was still working full-time, and my home life. It's a very difficult thing to do, and it's not without its moments, but it is important to me, it is important to my wife, and it is important to our children, and I believe that I have the experience to appropriately balance what's required of me in all of those facets of my life.
Thank you. I think, Amy, you have an email question?
Yep, this one's directed to you. In my opinion, the current Board of Selectmen have been reactive rather than proactive. They've chosen to criticize rather than constructively resolve issues. Mr. Murphy, the budget crisis is upon us. What will your leadership bring to this town? Specifically, what is your plan?
I think the conflict, lack of objectivity can deter the appropriate decision making. There's no question that the budget is very, very tight. This year was very, very difficult. Next year will be even more so. In terms of a specific plan, I guess my specific plan would be to encourage the board to develop an operating budget that provides for at least a 3-year forecast. That's difficult to do. Many of the components of the budget are not known for many years, for many months at the time of the preparation of the budget. But I think that you can prepare a reasonable forecast. The town now has a 5-year capital plan, which is done every year. I think it's appropriate to have a 3-year operating budget plan so that we can look down the road somewhat and understand whether or not a Prop 2.5 override is required to meet the operating needs of the town. We need to maintain the school system as well as the town services, and I think it's important to be forward-looking as we go through that process. Excuse me. As we go through that process, and not to wait until next November or so to begin the budget process and the discussions about how much is available for revenue.
Thank you. Anyone have a question from the floor? Mr. Spear, give me your name and...
Chef Spear, Community Planning Commission. John, I noticed that you opposed the dual tax rate at this time, and commend you for that. But my question goes to the growth of the town's tax base, and I was wondering if you could comment on, you stated that North Reading's increase in the commercial tax base is imperative. There are people here that are involved in the J.T. Berry Committee, people that have been talking about sewer district. What is the role that you see of yourself and the selectmen in that process in getting tax revenues in our coffers?
I think it's important that, well, as it relates to the dual tax rate, the dual tax rate is nothing more than a shift in the burden from residential to commercial. I think North Reading has 16% commercial. Much of that is small businesses. Many of the other communities that utilize a dual tax rate have they might have the same commercial base, but they have larger businesses. So I think that one needs to be very careful when looking at a dual rate, not only the percentage of the commercial base, but what types of businesses make up that commercial base. And again, I think the key to that is to understand very clearly that it is not a way to raise additional revenue. It is merely a way to shift the burden from one group to another. So I think at this time it would be inappropriate, because I feel it would hurt the small businesses here in North Reading, and I think we're at a crossroads in terms of trying to attract some larger businesses. We've got Teradyne, et cetera. So I think that at this time that's not appropriate. In terms of the role of the Board of Selectmen as it relates to the sewer district or to J.T. Berry, we have the J.T. Berry Reuse Committee. We have the DPW as well as some others working on the sewer district issue. As it relates to J.T. Berry, the committee is up and running. It's been up and running for a long time. There are now at this point 5 proposals. There were 8 proposals. The committee has narrowed it to 5 proposals. I think the role of the Board of Selectmen is to support the committee in their activity, is to stay informed on the activities of the committee, and to provide the committee a vision for North Reading so that they know what kinds of decisions they need to make to bring that proposal forward. I think as it relates to the sewer district, the April annual town meeting provided for phase 2 of the plan for a wastewater treatment facility, which is, I believe, being conducted by the DPW. I think we need to continue to move forward with that. I think we